Hello everyone. Welcome to the next basic video in chess learnings. So in today's video, we are going to understand how you can checkmate by using one queen when you are having only two kings, and if you're having one queen extra on the board, means your king, your queen, and your opponent has only one king remaining on the board. So now there are basically four basic mates. Like first one will be with one queen's checkmate we will be covering in this video. In the next video we will be going across checkmate by using two rooks, then checkmate by using one rook, and we will be learning checkmate by using two bishops. So first of all, let's understand why do we need to understand these basic mates. Now imagine you are playing a game, and in the game you have you actually are like you are having actually extra material. Let's say you have extra one queen on the board, but if you don't know how to checkmate your opponent by having that extra queen, then basically that game will become a draw after 50 moves. Usually in chess there is a rule that's called 50 moves rule. If your opponent is not moving anything else apart from the king for 50 moves, then the game becomes automatically a draw. So it's very important for you to understand how you can win the game if you have extra queen, because usually when you're promoting the pawn, if you promote the pawn to the last line, then you are promoting the pawn to the queen. And you means you will be facing a lot of scenarios where you will be having one king and one queen on the board, and your opponent has just a king on the board or king with few pawns. So all other pawns you can kill by using the queen, and in the end eventually you will be having one queen, one king, and your opponent will be having only king left. So for that, let me arrange the position. So I'm arranging the position over here. I'm just keeping one king, one queen, and I will be arranging one king from the black side. So here, let's assume a scenario where you are playing from white side, your opponent is playing from black side, and now we are learning how we have to checkmate that king by using the queen. Now, first of all, let me tell you, this is not the only way to checkmate the king by using the queen. There can be multiple different ways possible that you can make a checkmate by using one king. But I personally feel this is the easiest one and easy to understand as well. So let's start. So first of all, you have to understand giving check is not always important. Yeah, sometimes you will see some scenarios where giving check will be very useful for you, but yeah, there can be some scenarios where checks are like useless. Like in this situation, if you just keep on giving some unnecessary checks like this, then let's say you are giving this check, then again king will move here, and again for example, let me show you, it's a check, then king moves here, again a check, again king moves. So it will be threefold repetition, and in the end it will become a draw. So we don't have to go into that. So we should know proper way how to checkmate by using one queen. So for that, first of all, let's try to understand what is the concept or what is the thing we are going to use. So always try to block this king in the knight squares. For example, for this king, all these green squares which I'm showing are the knight squares. So just let me mark all of them. So these are all the knight squares. So in my batches also, I usually tell students to follow this thing, and yeah, it works well for them. So over here, you have to see which one is the closest one for your queen. For example, from in this particular position, from the A1 square, this one is the closest knight square of that black king to the white queen. Means queen can easily go on C3, which is closer to the queen. Now after this, it is all up to the black side what black wants to play. Means black has three options right now. King can go on F4, it can go on F5, it can even go on the D5 square. So let him go anywhere. You just have to keep on following this concept until the king reaches the end. Okay, so let's say black king goes on the D5 square over here. Now once the king goes to D5, again have a look at all the knight squares of that black king. So I'm again going to mark all the knight squares of the black king. Okay, so these are all the knight squares of the black king. Now you will notice one thing, that your queen is already standing in one of the knight squares. So in this case, sometimes people try to take the king up towards the king. Yeah, that also works. As I told you in the beginning, there are multiple ways, but I just don't want you to get confused when you are doing checkmate by using one queen. So we will be using the king in the end. Okay, so right now we don't have to confuse ourselves by using the king right now. So over here, first of all, you just have to move your queen into the next closest knight square. So out of all these knight squares, the next closest one for the queen is this one. So now we will move the queen to the b4 square. Once the queen goes to the b4 square, again black king has to move somewhere. So black has some options. Let's say e5, e6, and c6. Let him go again anywhere. It doesn't really matter. You just have to keep on following the same thing. So let's say black king goes to e6. Now again, once the king goes to e6, have a look at all the knight squares of the black king. So these are all the knight squares of the black king over here, which I'm marking. Now again, you just have to see which one is the closest one for your queen and place your queen in that square. So uh, I can see that here the closest one for the queen is the c5. So you can just place your queen in the c5 square. Now again, after your turn, it's black's turn to play. Now black again has some options. Black can go here, here, or here in the d7 square. Now let again black side play anything. So let's say black king goes to d7 square. Now once the black king goes here, again have a look at all the knight squares which are uh, available for the black king, means knight squares for the black king. So these are all the knight squares which I'm marking over here. Again, you can see your queen is placed already in one of the knight squares, but you have to switch the knight square. Now where you have to switch, you have to move your queen in the next closest knight square. So again here, this one is the closest one for the queen, so you can just place it over here. Like this, what we are actually trying to do is, like, see, earlier king was somewhere in the center. Now we are trying to take that king towards one side or one corner of the board. Okay, so edges of the board or sides of the board usually restrict the king's movement, and that helps us to make a checkmate. So now again, we just have moved our queen from c5 square to b6. Again, it's black's turn. So black will be moving somewhere. Now again, black has some options which are available. Let's say these are three options over here for the king. Again, let him go anywhere. Let's say king goes here, here. You just have to see knight squares of the black king, and you have to put your queen uh, in the square which one is closest for the queen. Okay, knight square, which one is the closest for the queen. So let's say black king goes to c8 again. Hmm. Now once the queen goes to c8, now you can again see the knight squares of the king. So these are all the knight squares. So you can now, I can see that from this square, this one is the closest one. So place the queen over here. So see, we have successfully taken the king towards one side of the board. Earlier it was in the center somewhere. Now we have taken that black king towards one corner, not corner really, but towards one side. Now we have to take that king towards the corner, and then we will start using the king. So now it's black's turn again. So black, let's say black has only one option now left. So here king goes to d8. Once the black king goes to d8, again you can see the knight squares of the black king. So these are all the knight squares of the black king, and you can see this one is the closest one. So you can place your queen like that. Now again black's turn it is. So black king goes here. Again place your queen in the next closest knight square. So again see all the knight squares. Here it is the next closest one. So you can place the queen on c7. Again it is black's turn. So black king goes to f8. Again you can have a look at all the knight squares. These are the four knight squares, and the closest one for the queen is the d7. So you can place your queen on d7 square. Then black king goes to b8. Sorry, it's a g8 square. Black king goes to g8, and then you can just try to move the queen again to the next closest knight square. So you can just place it on the e7. So queen goes to e7, king goes to corner. Now see here, I have seen most of the players make mistakes that like they try to keep on blocking the king. But here, if you block the king further, means by putting the queen on f7 square, that's going to be a stalemate. So it will become a draw. But yeah, as you're having a queen, you can easily checkmate the black king. So just be careful when your opponent's king reaches the last two squares. So when your opponent's king reaches the last two squares, here you don't have to block that king further. So you can keep these two squares available for the movement, so that it will not become a stalemate. And now here it's the time that we should start bringing our king ahead. So over here you have to always remember where to place your king. I mean, see, you always have to go, or you always have to place your king in front of the available squares. So the green squares we can say like are available squares for the black king. So you can place your king among this one, or even we can say f6 square. We can place our king anywhere among these three yellow squares. So now it's our turn. So I'm just going to take the king. You can take it anyway, from g2 or h2. It doesn't really matter. Then black king plays, let's say king. Yeah, that's the only option, obviously. So king goes to g8. Then just move the king up. Again, black's turn. Black king goes to h8. Again, move the king up. Black king moves here. King up. Again, black king goes here. And then king to g6. And in the end, when black plays the king over here, you can just make a checkmate. So this is the way actually you can make a checkmate by using one queen. So whenever you have one queen on the board, you can just follow this thing, and I feel it's the easiest way. I feel okay. It's many people can be having some different variations, which they might be feeling easier than this, but yeah, I genuinely feel this is the easiest one. So I thought of telling this one. And yeah, like this thing I feel personally can work in any situation when you have one queen on the board. Now, for example, let's assume let's assume you have different position on the board. For example, your king is placed somewhere like this. Okay, your queen is placed somewhere over here. Black king is placed over here. Sorry. Okay, black king is placed over here. Let's assume this is a position. Again, in this case, you can just see, look at the knight squares of the black king. So I can show you like these are all the knight squares of the king. So just place your queen in the closest knight square for your queen. So this one is the closest one. You can just place it over here. Don't give unnecessary checks. Checks are useless in this situation. So now again, black king, let him play anything. Let's say king goes here. Again, go to the next closest knight square. Again, suppose king goes here. Go to the next closest knight square. Then again, if the king goes here, again, next closest knight square over here. And when the black king goes here, now you can see in the end corner, you have to be careful. Don't place your queen here. It's going to be a mistake if you place your queen on b6 right now. Now it's time for your king to come closer to the black king. So these two are available squares. You already know that you have to place your king in front of the available squares. So you can place your king anywhere among these three available options, yellow squares. So you can just start moving your king one by one like this, and just once your king reaches here, with the help of the king, you can just make a checkmate. That's it. So that's what all about making a checkmate by using one queen. I hope I'm helping you, at least in some sort, like to improve your chess game. All right, so thank you very much. That's it for the day. Have a nice day. Bye bye.